Hello and welcome to Becoming Abundant podcast. I am your host, Anna Maria Jinga, and this is our side of the internet where we get to speak about true abundance, personal authority, emotional optimization, and the pure power of alignment, all while living in the presence and guidance of God Himself. I am a holistic coach and mentor focusing on healing the emotions keeping you stuck so that the mind and body can align and live a limitless life. We all have a mission and a purpose, and I am here to help you unchain from what's been holding you back to actually live in your full potential. Think of it as transformative triggering in the best possible way. The time has come to live a life you love. Let's dive in. Hello, my darlings, and welcome to this week's podcast. I am your fabulous coach, mentor, and host of this whole space of the internet, Anna. And I'm very excited to dive into a very, very fun subject for this week. And that is called body, mind, and emotions. Now, before we dive into all of that, I do have some fun things to share. Yes, for those that watch me on YouTube, I just needed to have my microphone higher because I am a tiny little human. I actually wanted to share some of the beautiful responses I've got from you guys on our previous episode's homework, which was, what does becoming abundant feel like to you and mean to you? And some of the messages that I got were like so heartwarming. Becoming abundant for some of you guys means joy, excitement, true alignment. I heard someone say, and I was like, yeah, I feel that. It meant that life is happening for me and not to me. It meant that I'm more in control of how I show up. It meant I'm reading stuff now. Yes. It meant that we live in a higher frequency of emotions. Now I'm like, oh, that is perfectly described, because whenever we are in true alignment with what becoming abundant actually means to us, we are in that space of, actually, a mentor of mine calls this the God zone. We're in that space of heaven on earth. We're in that space of, I am truly blessed and I feel it. We are in the space of, I feel the connection inward with God and with the whole creation. And it's just freaking amazing. So thank you so much for sharing so many beautiful aha moments from just my introduction episode. And that was really exciting because I wasn't expecting so many of you, one, to listen to this, two, to be so moved by just an introduction, and three, to be so supportive of this whole new chapter that's unfolding, both for myself, but also for you, for all of you being here. So thank you for that. Thank you for also taking the homework very seriously and sending all of your beautiful responses and reactions to that whole 13-14 minute episode. So thank you. I love you. You guys rock. Now, let's dive into our episode and our topic: body, mind, emotions. As some of you may know, I'm a big fan of understanding our emotions and becoming the masters of our thoughts, of our emotions, of how our body reacts and responds. Because the body is actually the full manifestation of our thoughts and feelings. And whatever we think is being felt by the body, whatever we feel is being perceived by the body of each cell of it. Every cell of our body, every molecule, every little atom, every little speck of us hears and feels what we tell it. I'll let that sink in for a moment. Because can you imagine how much your body takes all the crap that you're telling yourself literally and is like, I do not matter. I am not worthy. I do not belong here. I don't do this or that, or no. All of that goes within ourselves, and then our cells react and respond and multiply with the frequency of that. So, in order to have what we want in life, in our experiences, we actually need to think of it first, then to feel it. And after that, we get to experience it in our reality here. Because, yes, everything is energy. And also, we are the masters of our energy. We are the masters and we have authority over all of this creation and energy. I'll get into that a little deeper into a future episode. But for now, just know that we as human beings are in charge of our life. We are the masters of our emotions. We are the masters of our energy, and we get to create more energy that aligns with us. So think of that. Second thing to let sink in. If we are the masters of our emotions and our energy, what kind of energy are we putting ourselves through? What kind of energy are we allowing out into the world as our energetic blueprint? When you walk outside, how strongly do people feel you? Do you smile enough? Do you love yourself enough? Or are you just an automation showing up day after day after day in the same frequency with the same uncleaned blueprint, expecting miracles to happen when there's so much clutter around? That's the second thing to let sink in. Another thing that I want to point out is an example. In order for us to have what we want in life, we actually need to start thinking about it first, then feel it. And only after that do we actually get to take actions towards it. So, first and foremost, it's the energy, then the thought, then the feeling, and then the action. So, if it doesn't happen in that order, you're not going to see reality changing for you. Here, I'll give you an example, and this is where I wanted to anchor another fun thing in. Let's say you want to go somewhere, either walking or driving. And in order to go there, we cannot just think it and poof, we are there. There's no poof. We have not yet invented teleportation for human consumption. Maybe it's somewhere in NASA, somewhere hidden in whatever files they have there. But it's not accessible for us. So because that is not accessible, we need to first think of, I want to go to the store. Then I will feel the energy of, okay, I will go to the store. I'll grab my keys or I'll grab my bag and I will go towards the car or to the bus or to walk towards the store. And then we get to put in the action. So first we think, I need chocolate from the store. Second, I feel, okay, we've made the decision. I'm feeling the decision in my body. And only then we start to actually take steps towards the store. How would it be if we jumped steps, just suddenly found ourselves in the car driving with, where am I going? How would that be? It's the same thing when you want to start creating some form of change in your life. You first need to think it, then feel having the chocolate, and then make it happen. And whenever we're in the space of following the sequence of thought, feeling, action, we get to talk next about the frequency of the feeling. Because whatever the frequency of the feeling actually is, that's what it results in your reality. Now think about it. You want to go to the store to get your chocolate. You thought about it, but the feeling is of guilt, "Ugh, I shouldn't go to the store to get chocolate because I'm going to eat the whole thing. I have no self restraint." Remember what we were talking at the beginning of the episode about what kind of emotion we allow in our body? What would that emotion do to you? You are taking the action because, okay, I want to go to the store. I want to get a chocolate and I will feel guilty about it, but I'm still going to get it because I know I'm going to feel worse if I don't get it. So, no self restraint, no self love either. We're just doing the thing because, okay, I'm going to do it anyway because I want to love myself, but I'm going to feel guilty through the whole thing. This is the third let's think about it part of the episode, which is emotions have frequencies. Now, while I won't be going too deep into the frequencies and numbers and what's going on in our bodies when we do have all these types of emotions and so on, I do want to teach you briefly about how to understand the emotions in the body. But I do feel like there's a lot to unpack. And most likely, I'll be doing a type of masterclass for us to dive deeper into the subject. But for now, we're going to work with a couple of emotions just as examples so you can have something to start working with. Whenever we have these emotions that have been ignored or repressed for a very long time, we do tend to have them manifesting in our bodies. And also, besides our bodies, they get to also be manifested into our mental processes. And then they get to turn into these chronic imbalances that start affecting our lives, our habits, our ways of thinking, because we tend to go into the automation part of life. Let's just get through it and that's it. That's not the best way to approach it because when ignored for too long, emotions tend to store up negative low frequency in the body. When that happens, the hardest way to help it's from the outside in. Why I'm saying that? It's like trying to put a band-aid on your thyroid, for example, when you have higher functioning or lower functioning thyroid. It will do little to nothing. So when these chronic imbalances happen and we see results in our life that create certain patterns that keep happening, both in our health and in our way of thinking and in our way of doing things, in our way of feeling emotions, in the emotions that we get to feel more often, then the hardest way to help all of this is from the outside in. That's why sometimes there are certain treatments or approaches that do very little for our chronic imbalances. I'm not saying acute, medicine has a big place in humanity. But the chronic part most times is affected by the emotions that we are repressing. So, when we do dive into the understanding of what happens when the emotion is felt, what happens behind the imbalance, what happens in our bodies, and where are the emotions felt in our bodies, then we get to work with the emotion itself and we get to raise it because every emotion has a counter emotion that can help it. Same as every emotion can have a counter emotion to hinder it. Another thing to let sink in. So whenever we have these kind of emotions in our bodies that tend to materialize as imbalances, you will feel certain things happening. Let's take two low frequency emotions that are quite common, honestly, in most of my clients, in lots of people I work with, even in researches I've done in certain communities. These two emotions are two of the biggest, most impactful low frequency emotions that tend to create that downward spiral, that limiting nonsense. Let's call it nonsense, shall we? So, these two emotions are anger and shame. The opposite of anger and shame are worthiness for shame and peace for anger. So, whenever we feel anger, let's go with that. Anger is my favorite one because I've lived in that emotional home for many years. I've learned how to get out of it because I've understood what was behind the anger and how to work with it. So, as we take anger, for example, whenever I speak about emotions, anger is actually my first one that I address because it was one of my favorite emotions to use as a response instead of an experience because I didn't know how to control anger. It just bubbled up and took me over. That's why growing up, I had quite some digestive issues, liver problems, all of that. Because whenever we speak about anger, anger affects our nervous system directly. It is a fire that burns inside of our body. It is a cycle of trigger and explosion. It's the kind of frequency that feels unseen and wants to expand, to explode. And when it explodes, it just takes over everything. So, some of the organs, for example, that are affected by this emotion are the stomach, the small and large intestines. The spleen is slightly affected, all the digestive part, because whenever we feel anger, we do not allow for something to be digested. We do not have the patience to let something go through us and out of us. We hold on to it as if it resembles our identity. We hold on to the lie that we were told. We hold on to a story that we've heard, and we allow for that to become our identity because it triggered something inside of us that wasn't seen. Now, as anger is felt that way in the body, in the mind, it also affects our way of perceiving things. It also affects our ability to understand the full story of a situation. And as Chris Voss mentions in one of his beautiful podcasts about how we dumb ourselves down 30% whenever we are in a low frequency. Anger is one of the biggest low frequency emotions to take hold of our mind. You probably heard that saying that says, you've been blinded by anger. Yes, it blinds you, it dumbs you down, it shrinks you because you're trying too much to burn things, to be seen. So, whenever that happens, the following emotion that may or may not be felt is shame. And whenever we have these two emotions of anger and shame, they get to live in our body as a box, an armor that constantly squeezes us, that doesn't allow us to feel any kind of limitlessness and growth. It feels like we are not seen, we are not heard, we are not worthy. So when these kinds of emotions happen, we go into the never ending cycle of, you're not worthy. I'm going to get angry because I'm not worthy. You are not useful. I'm going to get angry and I'm going to feel ashamed because I don't feel useful. These are just stories. Because the opposite, the counter emotions, the opposite emotions that we get to feel when we feel anger, the opposite is peace. When we feel shame, the opposite is worthiness. So, how would those emotions change in your body? Peace in your body will give your nervous system a break. Peace in your body will give your brain time to breathe. Peace in your body will release your cells from holding on to that capsule of armor of nothingness. Then we go into worthiness. Worthiness gives you faith. Worthiness gives you hope. Worthiness heals the body from the inside out in order to align to that frequency of I'm at peace and I'm worthy because I am here, because I am a child of God, because I matter, because I wouldn't have been born in this day and age if I didn't have a mission to do something to change someone's life or day or presence. You don't have to be a public speaker, inspirational, transformational, whatever, to make someone's day. Go buy someone a coffee. Go tell a mom you're doing fabulous. Go pet a dog on the street. Go feed a squirrel. Go sit in the sun and be with God and say thank you for this whole experience. You matter. You matter because without you, the people that were around you would have missed from experiences that you got to create, from lessons that you got to bring. So the fact that you're here means that you matter, you are worthy, you are important. So whatever the storyline was that brought the anger and shame in your life, it's actually a deceiving lie that you've accepted because somewhere in your past, someone else made you feel unworthy. And instead of going to your creator and say, oh my God, I felt horrible, and him coming back saying, you are my child, you are blessed, you are worthy, you are holy, you went to someone else like you and expected a God answer from them. So that was my short presentation about emotions. Whenever we're going to talk in coaching experiences, in mentoring episodes, in any kind of topics that I will bring here, I'm going to share more about this because it's a giant topic that we can dive into it for honestly days on end without stopping. So that is why I want to bring more clarity around emotions. And it's very important for us as we go through our healing journeys, as we uncover what's going on, what's been getting in the way, that we also know that we have the power to change it, that we have everything we need within us to make it happen, to shift into something new, to connect to something greater that will give us the purpose to push forward. With that being said, the homework for today's episode is think of what is one emotion that you constantly go to on a day to day basis. Maybe not day to day. Maybe you have better days, lower days, but as a consistent basis. Think of the emotion that's kind of getting in the way that you would like to control it. And then think of the opposite emotion, such as I'll give you a quick list of emotions: anger with its counter emotion, peace; fear with its counter emotion, courage; grief with its counter emotion, joy; anxiety with its counter emotion, calm; guilt with its counter emotion, forgiveness; shame with its counter emotion, worthiness; resentment with its counter emotion, acceptance; frustration with its counter emotion, contentment; jealousy with its counter emotion, trust; doubt with its counter emotion, confidence; hatred with its counter emotion, love; and envy with its counter emotion, gratitude. So, those are kind of the main things to think about. What low frequency emotion am I feeling? How can I create more space for the positive emotion to be more in my life. So that was our episode. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure walking with you through this little example of how to understand life from an emotional perspective. And my loves, enjoy your homework. Make sure you follow me on I Am Becoming Abundant. Make sure you email me your answers at info@becomingabundant.net. Make sure you follow me on YouTube on I Am Becoming Abundant. Make sure you hang around because, by the way, next week, actually, this Sunday, as it's going to be September 1st, we shall be starting our 30-day challenge of living a life more in abundance, as becoming abundant becomes your way of life. I'll share more on my Instagram. I'm very excited for you guys to explore your own journey of becoming abundant. And until next time, be blessed. May you have mercy, peace, and love be multiplied to you. And I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.